This is a Fox News alert, 8 o'clock in New York City, and some top Republicans are demanding to know who leaked information to that now famous whistleblower who made the complaint about President Trump's phone call and dealings with Ukraine.
All right, it comes after a tense hearing on Capitol Hill with the acting director of National Intelligence, and then one behind the House in front and center, and then behind closed doors with the Senate.
Griff Jenkins joins us from Washington as we learn the whistleblower could be a CIA officer. Griff?
Yeah, Ainsley, Brian, and Steve, good morning. The New York Times reports a whistleblower is a CIA employee who spent time assigned to the White House. Now, sources are telling Fox News this individual served on the NSC staff. Now, in this new video obtained by Bloomberg, we've learned the president has harsh words for the person who gave the whistleblower that information.
That's close to a spy. You know what we used to do in the old days when we were smart, right? The spies and treason, right? We used to handle it a little differently than we do now.
This is the acting DNI. Joseph Maguire testified for more than 3 hours defending his handling of the complaint and saying, we've never seen anything like this.
This is unprecedented, and this is a unique situation. I want to stress that I believe that the whistleblower and the Inspector General have acted in good faith throughout. I have every reason to believe that they have done everything by the book and followed the law.
Maguire also acknowledged the complaint was based on secondhand information, but Speaker Pelosi was not satisfied, cautiously pressing ahead in the march to impeachment.
This is a cover-up. This is a cover-up. I think what the DNI did was broke the law. The law is very clear. This is nothing that we take lightly.
Maguire also testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee behind closed doors. We don't know yet whether or not the whistleblower will be called to Congress by lawmakers. We do know that in the recess, which is the next 2 weeks, some Democrats will travel to Ukraine to further investigate this. Guys?
Okay, good to know. Griff, thank you very much. Geraldo joins us. It's Friday.
Good morning, everybody. Hello. Hi.
Geraldo,
how you doing?
What's your headline from the week? I mean, we've had the whistleblower complaint. We've had the transcript of the phone call. We've had cover-up from Nancy Pelosi.
I was brutally reminded that the Democrats have sought the impeachment of Donald Trump from the first minute he was elected. Even before that. They've tried the nuclear approach. The whole Russia collusion, illusion, delusion was the big banana that we all thought, you know, once he resolved that, he'd move on. But I have to admit, when you look at the four corners of the tape, regarding Zelensky, the Ukrainian, I think you can make the construction. I personally don't, but I see how people might make the connection between, listen, go check out Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, and we'll see about getting you that aid.
Is there quid pro quo there?
I think that it's much too imprecise to be a quid. But this is not about precision. This is now about politics. Mm-hmm. Does this give them a logical lever to now talk about Donald Trump on the way out? They know as they accumulate Senate, House members, and they, Nancy Pelosi's counting up to her 218 majority.
She's got them.
She'll know. All right. So she'll impeach, which is like an indictment. They'll indict the president. So only the fourth time in history a president will be indicted. Actually, only the third time a president in history. So President Trump will be indicted. The Senate will take that case and in short order say there's no way this 2/3 vote in the United States Senate, which would require 30 or 20 Republicans to go on the other side. So it will be an exercise that obsesses us. I think that it will detract us. I think it will affect the stock market in a negative way. I think that every committee, just as we feared in 2018 when the House fell to the Democrats, it's going to be investigate, charge, investigate, and nothing's going to
Of all things, the Washington Post goes to actually the president's defense and says the Democrats are sprinting in front of evidence. He says, keep in mind that John Durham is finding out the genesis of the Ukraine's role in the election. They say the witness was not a direct witness. They said it's ridiculous to think that the president saying, can you help us with an investigation, is something that's impeachable.
Well, it just seems to me, Brian, that when you hear the conversations that the Democrats are having, that they have, they are the fact.
Well, they can have all the conversations.
They are a fact certain that they're going ahead with an impeachment process.
They're definitely going to do that. So the Senate, they're not going to get the 2/3 in the Senate. So then what happens? Can the president still run again in 2020?
Oh, of course.
And how will this
Of
affect
course.
his election?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the American people perceive this process, Ainsley. Do they think that the president will be treated fairly? You remember Kavanaugh when he was grilled, how unfair most people thought that was. Will the president be treated with that kind of disregard and disrespect? Will there be no bilateral action on anything anymore?
He's raised $13 million since the impeachment articles.
Well, will it all be, you go your way and I go mine, and we talk about, impeachment when we have a time?
Well, a lot of people say he's not perfect, but many, especially conservatives, are going to say he's better than the alternative, which would be Elizabeth Warren or Joe Biden.
I've known him forever, and he's filled with you hear the other network says 11,000 lies and 15,000 lies. He's a real estate guy, and it was filled with braggadocio. I could just see him. And that phone call to the Ukrainian president reminded me of him selling a real estate building someplace.
Well,
hey, we do this, and by the way, you do that, and I could just see him in the stream of consciousness. Hey, Zell, what's up, buddy?
Geraldo, so yesterday you had the acting DNI there being grilled by
McGuire. I thought he did a good job.
Grilled by the Democrats and lauded by a lot of the Republicans. And what's interesting is he was just giving them the facts. Meanwhile, they had all the facts that committee did from the complaint that the whistleblower filed because they had seen the classified version the night before. And yet Adam Schiff, rather than just looking at the facts, decided to actually make up what he now calls a parody to make it sound even worse.
Trying out for Saturday Night Live.
You never know. It's Friday morning, and here's some of that. Watch.
This is the essence of what the president communicates. We've been very good to your country, very good. No other country has done as much as we have. But you know what? I don't see much reciprocity here. I hear what you want. I have a favor I want from you, though. And I'm going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent, understand lots of it, on this and on that.
And none of that.
Wow, that was a laugh riot there, right?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, the president in the last couple of minutes has been tweeting and tweeted this out about the congressman from California. Representative Adam Schiff fraudulently read to Congress with millions of people watching a version of my conversation with the president of Ukraine that does not exist. He was supposedly reading the exact transcribed version of the call, but he completely changed the words to make it sound horrible and me sound guilty. He was desperate and got caught. Adam Schiff therefore lied to Congress and attempted to defraud the American public. He has been doing this for 2 years. I'm calling for him to resign immediately from Congress based on this fraud. Geraldo?
I don't think he will.
Well, this was very awkward on the president's behalf. I wish he did not make the phone call to the Ukrainian president. I think that even though you can parse it, and I think that he'll be strong going forward, certainly on the Senate side of an impeachment process.
But you said it wasn't illegal.
It's not illegal, except if you construe it in the most evil way possible. If you construe it to mean that he said, go after Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, and then we'll give you the aid, as the Democrats are trying to define and couch it, then I think that's a problem. I think that at the very least he's got to explain in a very lucid and comprehensive way what exactly he meant.
So intent.
And, for instance, I'd like to know what happened to the aid. Was $400 million in aid delivered? What did they use the money for?
September 11th, it was delivered.
All right. Did it all go to weapons, or did some go south?
Well, the breakdown is beyond. No one has faults. The breakdown is exactly what the Senate okayed, and it does have lethal weapons in there. Something Barack Obama was unwilling to do. Well, so that's why a Ukrainian leader says, "I appreciate everything you guys have done for us over the last 2.5 years." And the question is, which you come to, on July 19th, the aid was held up. Why? Why was the vice president, who was supposed to go to the inauguration and represent the administration, why did he not go? Why did Secretary Perry go instead? What happened when Murphy and Johnson went over to talk to the Ukrainian leader? And when Rob Portman came out in August and said, I talked to the president about it, had nothing to do with any type of conversation on Joe Biden, the conversation was about corruption. And then when Rob Portman says, we just need to get him that money, a week later, they got the money. So that's the way, that's what the president has going for him.
But it gets back to my main question, the $69 question. Where did the money go? Was the money used to buy weapons, or was the money used to line the pockets of the corrupt people that the president is complaining about?
You would have to have proof of quid pro quo. And no matter if he gave them the money a month later after that conversation or 2 months later, if we don't have proof that the president was holding back because he wasn't getting information about Joe Biden's son, then he's not guilty.
That is what a reasonable person would assess the situation. I see it differently. After listening to the Democrats, they believe that they have it now. That everything else, Russia collusion, Stormy Daniels, taxes, making money on hotels and all that, they're going to put everything away and they're going to laser focus on this. This is going to be what the impeachment is all about. Maybe one or two little other things fall in. So it's going to be the President of the United States in a conversation that was intercepted by a rotten snitch. I'd love to whap him, but that's another story. Imagine this poor president, his whole tenure in office has been marked by snitches and rats and backstabbers. Yep. It's amazing how he functions at all. But he'll have to defend that statement, and it'll be the essence of impeachment, and I think they'll even lose some Democrats on the way to indicting him.
All right, Geraldo, thank you very much for your point of view. Have a great weekend.
You too, thank you.
All right, meantime, news time with her.
That's right, good morning. Let's begin with this Fox News alert now. A Florida Highway Patrol car.
Fox News alert now. New reporting CS the whistleblower who made the complaint about President Trump's phone call with the Ukraine, according to the New York Times, would be a CIA officer. But as Democrats use this as a basis for impeachment, does this reveal a bigger political agenda? Here with the reaction is former CIA officer and Democrat Brian Dean Wright. Brian, you say this is an indication that the CIA and intelligence community is out of control. In what way?
Brother, we have seen this for the past 3 years. It started with Comey and Clapper and Brennan releasing that Steele dossier in January of 2017, pushing that into the public, kneecapping the president. It starts there. We now have somebody who the IG himself has said has a political animus to the president. This is a CIA analyst, senior official, who we now believe to be the whistleblower, has this political animus. And so we have seen this bookend of well, I hate to use a conspiracy, but certainly a degree of political bias in the intelligence community, usually at the highest levels. This, in my estimation, is not at that working level, right? We're not talking about what we would call the GS-12s or 13s or 14s. But the senior level, we keep seeing this over and over again, and it has got to stop.
Gina Haspel, you said, his current director, has got to put her senior officers through a renewed series of investigations and scrutiny. Really?
I think so. I mean, how can you say or believe that that's not the case? Let's look at a couple different things that we've seen in the past few years. A guy named Ned Price, he was on the NSC, down with Obama, eventually transitioned over to the Trump administration, came out with this scathing op-ed in the Washington Post and said all these terrible things about the president. Fine, that's fine. He can have an opinion. But he didn't disclose the fact that he is a Democrat, and he has since gone on and become a contributor with MSNBC, or NBC, I should say. The point is, if we're going to have these folks stand up from the intelligence community and bash the president, talk about all the terrible things that he has done or is, they have to acknowledge their bias. And that's the problem that I have with this whistleblower. We know from the IG that they have a bias that they didn't disclose, that the IG had to find out about. But now the American people are being told, look, we're going to impeach the president on the allegations of an anonymous whistleblower who didn't have firsthand access to the information, who has a political bias, who has sub-sources that also might have biases. But guess what, America? You can't ask any questions about any of those people because they have certain protections. Now, that's bizarre. That's a sham. That doesn't make any sense. That is an effort, ultimately, to kneecap, to hit the President of the United States, this president or any president. It is a horrific precedent of what we are doing. And by the way, the American people back me up on this. There was a poll that came out last night. 75% of America wants this whistleblower and his sources to testify in front of Congress. So if you're going to try to take out the president, particularly as a former intelligence officer, you better stand up and do it publicly.
So, Brian, do you think there's a better readout of the call than the 5 pages we got? Or is that basically what you have, notes from called world leaders?
Look, that's going to be the essence of it. There may be some additional clarification that you might get from somebody who was in the room, but the vast majority of what we need to know is in that transcript, and I tip my hat to the president for releasing it. It was the right thing to do. And now we can look and we can all have the conversation. But again, if you look at that transcript and you look at the fallout from that so far, it's been impeachment. We're going to move forward with impeachment.
Yep.
And yet there is no real desire to collect additional facts. So what does that tell you this is about? This tells you that this isn't about trying to get facts. We've already decided as a party, as a Democratic Party, I'm sorry to say, we've already decided we've got to get rid of the president. We're moving forward with it, irrespective of facts. That is clear.
My hope is the American people will let their lawmakers know over the next 2 weeks this is not where we want to go. And I think Congressman Green gave away the game plan when he said if we don't impeach the president, he might win re-election. So that is the game plan. Brian Dean Wright, thanks so much.
Amen.
Appreciate your passion.
Pleasure.
All right, straight ahead. Senator Richard Blumenthal blasting the president's call with the leader.
Our complaint against President Donald Trump is now under the microscope by House Democrats as they move towards impeachment.
And on the Senate side, some of their colleagues are issuing a warning to the president.
Donald Trump is going to choke on this supposed nothing burger. He will go down with this supposed nothing burger in his throat, because what it shows is repeated, concerted, premeditated criminal conduct.
But is their own political agenda fueling this investigation push?
Let's talk to former drug czar under the George H.W. Bush administration and the host of The Wise Guys over on Fox Nation, Dr. Bill Bennett. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, guys. How are you?
All right. So I think it was Lindsey Graham had referred to what was going on, a big nothing burger. There's nothing there. There's no there when you read the transcript. And then Blumenthal said, well, this supposed nothing burger was something that he would choke on. What do you make of what the senator from Connecticut is saying?
Yeah, there's been a ton of comments. You've heard them. You've played a lot of them. But that one struck me. You know, he's going to go down. He's going to choke. It's going to stick in his throat, this nothing burger. What this shows, I think, is the kind of anger and even hatred of this president by his political opponents. And it has blinded them. It has blinded them to the degree that they think they can make something out of nothing. And there's nothing here in this transcript that is impeachable. Now, you know, what's going around is something a lot of people have said, well, you can, impeachment is anything that Congress wants.
Right.
Yeah, they can impeach the president for liking burnt steak and ketchup if they want, but it has to be plausible. They have to be able to make the sale to the American people, and this won't. He was having a perfectly sensible conversation with the president of Ukraine, and as the Washington Post points out this morning, good reason to talk to the Ukrainians about the 2016 election and problems that might have been there. So he was perfectly within his rights, but this thing has the flavor, Steve and Ainsley, of an obsession. Remember Les Miserables with Javert pursuing Jean Valjean, or if that's too highbrow, how about Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner? I mean, it just, you know, and Wile E. Coyote, you know, sometimes steps off the cliff, looks down, and then drops.
Right.
And I think that's what's going to happen here, because what's feeding them is not the facts. Because the facts are not on their side, but their hatred of Donald Trump, and that's a very ugly thing.
You know, how does this all play out? Because we all do love our country, and we care so much about it, and it's watching this, there's so much theatrics. Someone the other day told me it's like a Broadway play, and you mentioned Les Mis. But how does this all play out? Because it's very disheartening, especially when you think about our grandparents fighting in World War II and the Greatest Generation. Now there's so much venom. I mean, choking on the burger.
Well, a couple things. First, in small letters, I think it plays out well for Donald Trump. I think that he comes out of this very well. Apparently, according to fundraising numbers, he's doing very well since this all started. This is going to destroy Biden, though. This plus Elizabeth Warren, he's already going down. And the more attention that's paid to this, the worse I think Biden will look. In terms of your larger question, which is a great question, Ainsley, the Republic does need some unification. We do need to talk about some of those things that unite us, that we share, instead of these horrible divisions. And our politics, which ought to be an instrument of change and improvement, has now become largely weaponized, and that is a shame. So we need to remember those stories that bring us together as Americans. I noticed the praise. Did you all notice that for the Director of National Intelligence? While they were under their breath, you know, calling him, you know, deceitful and dereliction of duty, they were all very careful to say, but we appreciate your service. Let's remember those moments.
At least we still have that.
Those things that together. But yes, we can agree on that.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid that transcending that now are these hateful partisan politics.
Gentlemen, I want to congratulate the Democrats on the rollout of their latest information warfare operation against the president and their extraordinary ability to once again enlist the mainstream media in their campaign. The Democrats simply moved the goalposts and began claiming that there doesn't need to be a quid pro quo for this conversation to serve as the basis for impeaching the president. They don't want answers. They want a public spectacle.
And they might have articles of impeachment by October. Joining us right now is Judge Jeanine. She's the same woman who hosts Justice with Jeanine. And
no,
the same
Justice with Judge Jeanine.
She earned that degree, Brian.
Why don't you just tell her about
She's a judge.
And also tell about her book.
She also wrote a book. It's called Radicals, Resistance, and Revenge, The Left's Plot to Remake America. Judge, what did you think about that?
You know what?
Hearing yesterday.
This is the ultimate revenge because these radicals have been resisting the president, resisting us for putting him in the White House. And this is the ultimate revenge. Everything that they've done, they did long ago. Look, what is about to come out, what is about to be declassified, every time the president does something that's worth noting, they're closing in on Russia, closing in on Russia. Now, the only reason I talk about yesterday is because it is a prelude to what we're going to see. And what we have now is this whole impeachment effort that has been in the works since he walked into the Oval Office. My concern is this. You've got a phone call by a sitting president. He is a chief executive of this country. And for these people to say that that man does not have the right to call another president of another country and say, we're looking into what happened with the 2016 election, the genesis of the meddling in our American election, and can you help us with that?
Right.
For the Democrats to say there is something wrong with that, they are so left field. We spent 2 years looking into that and $35 million. And you're saying the president can't call up and say, if you can help us with that, because, you know, we have a little information about that. And by the way, let's get Joe Biden out of the way right now, okay? Joe Biden is the one who 6 months before the president is on this phone call is saying, and, you know, I held up this money, American taxpayer dollars, so that they got rid of the prosecutor, who, by the way, was looking to investigate and was investigating his son, looking to interrogate him because he was on a board of a company for which he had absolutely no background and no training.
Judge,
come on.
Judge, what did you make of when you look at the whistleblower complaint, all 6 pages or 9 pages, whatever it is of? Were you struck by how legal it looked? It looked like we had Mr. Sekulow with us about an hour ago, and he said that it looked like it had been prepared by a law firm.
Well, there's no question about it. You know, this whistleblower, whoever he is, if he's the CIA guy or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. This was a setup. This is hearsay. It is absolutely inadmissible in court. He put together a legal argument. This is a guy who overheard other people talking. I want to know, who are these other people? Who are these other people in the White House who are looking to sink our president? As far as I'm concerned, I'm totally with him on the concept of people around him who are looking to get information out so that the Democrats can get him out of office, because they're never going to beat him.
That one person who listened to that conversation told someone else second-handedly, and now it's turned into all of this.
It turned into all of this where Nancy Pelosi comes out, you know, before we even have seen the transcript, and she said it's a cover-up. He broke the law.
And she wants Attorney General Barr, too. I guess an hour ago, she came out and says, going to be looking at Barr, get rid of him, and get rid of the president.
Look, hey, they were resisting Barr the day that that he came in. Now they want him to recuse himself. This is a game. America doesn't want this gamesmanship anymore. America wants a strong economy. We've got a soaring economy right now. They want a strong military, which is what we have. They want this stock market to keep kicking, and they want a president to be able to focus. And you know what? I have to tell you something. I looked at the president the day they came out of the UN, and he spoke to 98 countries in 3 days. I mean, that's an exaggeration, obviously. But you know what? If Schiff can do a parody on something as serious as this, I mean, that in itself was terrible. But, you know, he has to say to himself, I'm killing myself. I'm killing myself to make this country safe. And every time I turn around, I get incoming. And you know what? Shame on the Democrats.
And it's coming from the inside. The CIA and somebody at the White House had leaked it out.
Well, they predicted it. Didn't Chuck Schumer say you don't play around with the intelligence community? They'll get you 6 ways to Sunday.
We'll watch you over the weekend.
You will?
Yes, and we'll read your book.
Radicals, Resistance, and Revenge. Judge Jeanine, thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. Brian, Judge.
Judge.
All right, and now time for news with Jillian.
Good morning. Let's talk about this because of
looking straight ahead.
No, she's got her leg up.
Well, you know what? Janice is looking straight ahead, and she's foxcasting with fans behind
Look
her.
at this.
Look at this crowd today. Hi, everybody, and take a look. Oh, my gosh. I think they're all here for the Spartan race that's going to be happening. Pete Hegseth is out here. We've got more Fox and Friends folks that are going to take part. Oh, my gosh, this is amazing. Let's take a look at the maps while we see our beautiful people here. 69 here in New York City, mostly sunny skies. I will tell you, we have a big old snowstorm across the northern Rockies and the northern plains. 2 to 3 feet of snow. It's coming early, skiers. So just be aware. Actually, we could see some blizzard conditions and traveling will be treacherous. It is summertime, though, across the southeast up towards the mid-Atlantic region. All right, wave to everybody at home, my friends! Oh, my God. Thank you so much for coming. This is like a fantastic
We're getting more popular.
I know. This is unbelievable.
Hello there, young person.
It's the Columbus Day crowd.
All right.
Jillian, that's right up your alley. Now you can go to McDonald's.
I was a trendsetter.
You were indeed. All right. Yesterday on Capitol Hill, former ICE director Tom Homan was testifying, and the chairwoman of it was Congresswoman, a Democrat from Washington, Congresswoman Jayapal. Well, Mr. Homan exceeded his time, and she cut him off. And he didn't like it. Watch.
No, he didn't.
Children are dying. Cartels are getting rich. Why am I angry? Because you haven't done anything to fix it. Nothing. There's no downside in securing our border. There's no downside in illegal immigration being decreased. There's no downside unless drugs come in this country.
The time of the gentleman has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time. But not,
Mr. Homan.
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it's true, though. I didn't think about that. I thought she has the gavel, but...
And she was running the show, and she, you know, everybody has 5 minutes. But he was on with us about 90 minutes ago, and he said, look, Congress needs to hold a mirror up to themselves because they actually caused the problems because they won't close the loopholes.
I'm not going to let them sit there and tell lies about my president, tell lies about the men and women of the Border Patrol and ICE. It was lie after lie. Then it's my responsibility to set the record straight because they are out and out lies. So they're not going to shut me down, not let me respond. So at a certain point it says, no, I'm not going to shut up. You lied. You know, I'm under oath. You should be under oath. And at the point, just because you have a gavel doesn't make you, the queen of the day. It doesn't allow you to lie to the American people.
So Tom Homan yesterday joining us today. Also acting ICE director in his old job, Matthew Albence, said that ICE has arrested 100 people who have had convictions for sexual assault as well as other violent crimes and also involving crimes involving drugs. That's what they're doing, but these sanctuary cities prevent them from doing it. So your problem.
All right. It's about 10 minutes now before the top of the hour. Ainsley, what's coming up?
It's
All right, the updated Samsung Galaxy Fold hitting store shelves today.
the company calling it a foldable cross between a large smartphone and a small tablet. But already numerous headlines are calling out issues with the phone, saying, quote, Handle it with care.
I'm examining it right now, and Kurt, the cyber guy, gave it to me. And Kurt, this is it. It folds. There's the Fox and Friends page right there. It's cool, but it's heavy.
It's a little heavier, yeah. I think 9.84 ounces. This is really the first foldable device in the U.S.
The new flip phone.
Yeah, so it's the Galaxy Fold.
Watch how it
7.3-inch screen when you open it up. It's got 6 cameras on it. And you may remember back in April, they just had this debacle of where it had gotten into reviewers' hands and the screen was able to be peeled back, and it had some other issues with it. So people are right now online trying to rip it apart. It's actually a lot more durable. They addressed the issues that made it have those concerns before, and they put all new edges on it, so you're not going to be able to do that.
You know what I like about it? You close it. You don't accidentally call someone. I call people almost every day accidentally, but you can't do that with this. It almost looks like a little makeup. Looks like your eyeshadow.
See what girls
looks like my eyeshadow. Looks like your eyeshadow.
Yes, exactly. Right? Yeah. We could put the blush on the other side for you as well.
So what's the bad part about it?
You know, concerns are really, this is an aspirational device. I think the big play here for Samsung is this lets us know that the future category of phones and displays and TVs will actually be foldable, that you can do this. So I think this is an opener to a whole set of new products. But for this right now, it comes with vast warnings. Don't use your fingernail. Don't take it to the beach. Don't get dust in it. Don't get it wet. This isn't glass. It's polymer on the front. That's why it can bend like this.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah, so you have to
bend.
Right. So you have to be careful with it. This is for somebody who has to have the very latest of everything.
And that's it.
And it is a status symbol. I had it out at a bar last night, and sure enough, people are like, wow, look at that. So the Samsung Fold also not, the Galaxy Fold at how much? Just under $2,000.
Oh, my goodness. You didn't
So available from AT&T. Was going to be a T-Mobile. They're not selling it yet.
I was interested until I heard that.
You heard the price tag?
That's ridiculous.
There you go.
Will it go down eventually? It will.
Who knows?
Who knows? All right. Thank you very much.
I like
He was up late last night at a bar, but he made it into work. Thank you very much.
Who wasn't?